It's been a rough few weeks for Moira and Cain Dingle, and it looks set to continue. While the latter is now battling against cancer, Moira's world has collapsed after being framed for crimes committed by Celia Daniels. In the past few months, Moira worked with Celia to grow her business, but was unaware that her colleague was scheming behind her back in a bid to cover her own crimes. Despite Celia facing her demise, there's been no respite for Moira. Celia was actually bumped off by adoptive son Ray Walters, who in turn was killed by the returning bear wolf. Patty Dingle and Dylan Penders witnessed Ray's murder and have attempted to cover up the crime. In next week's scenes, Moira's world will unravel further after 2 bodies are discovered on Butler's farm, and she is subsequently arrested alongside Cain as the human trafficking investigation turns into a murder one. In a preview clip of the scenes, which can be viewed above, Moira talks to Cain about his state of mind following his cancer diagnosis, but the pair are shocked as a slew of police officers arrive on the scene. They take the pair in for questioning, but cause a scene as Victoria walks by. As Cain is shoved into the back of a police car, he urges Kyle to look after Isaac while he and Moira are away. But will the pair be able to return home? 2 bodies are found buried on Moira's property, and one of them is Celia's, our Emmerdale insider explains. This makes Moira look guilty as sin and undermines her claims that she's being set up. With the evidence mounting against her, it looks increasingly likely that Moira could be going to prison for a very long time. D.S. Walsh delivers the next blow to Moira as she confirms Moira's DNA was found on the blanket Anya was wrapped in. It has been a relentless few weeks for Moira and Cain Dingle, and just when it seems the storm cannot possibly get any worse, Emmerdale plunges the couple into one of the bleakest chapters of their lives. With Cain now facing a terrifying cancer battle, and Moira staring down the barrel of a murder investigation that threatens to destroy everything she loves, the Dingles are pushed to breaking point in a storyline that promises heartbreak, injustice, and devastating consequences. For years, Moira and Cain have survived betrayal, tragedy, violence, and loss. They are not strangers to pain. But this time, the blows come from all directions at once, and there is no clear way out. Cain's fight for his life. Cain Dingle, the village hard man who has always believed he could outlast anything life throws at him, is already fighting a private battle. His recent cancer diagnosis has shaken him to the core, stripping away the bravado that has long defined him. As he struggles to process the reality of his illness, Cain finds himself questioning his future, his strength, and the legacy he will leave behind. Fear manifests as anger, and anger spills over onto those closest to him. Yet beneath it all is a man desperate to hold on to his family, especially as everything else begins to slip through his fingers. Moira has tried to be Cain's rock through this ordeal, even as her own world quietly crumbles around her. A business deal that turned toxic. In recent months, Moira had been working closely with Celia Daniels, believing she had found a trusted business partner. Together, they focused on expanding the farm's prospects, with Moira optimistic that this collaboration might finally offer some stability after years of struggle. What Moira didn't know was that Celia had her own dark agenda. Behind closed doors, Celia was desperately trying to cover up her involvement in a human trafficking operation, and she was more than willing to let Moira take the fall if it meant saving herself. As the scheme began to unravel, Moira sensed something wasn't right, but she never imagined how deeply she had already been pulled into Celia's web of lies. Death, secrets, and a trail of blood. Despite Celia's efforts to protect herself, her crimes eventually caught up with her, with fatal consequences. Celia was murdered by her own adoptive son, Ray Walters, in a shocking act that stunned the village. But the violence didn't stop there. Ray's life was brutally cut short when Bear Wolf made a surprise return, killing him in a moment of explosive retribution. The murder was witnessed by Patty Dingle and Dylan Penders, who, horrified by what they saw, made the fateful decision to cover up the crime. Their silence would soon have catastrophic repercussions. With bodies piling up and secrets buried, Emmerdale was sitting on a ticking bomb, and Moira was standing directly in its path. No escape for Moira. Even in death, Celia Daniels continued to haunt Moira. Rather than bringing closure, Daniels' demise marked the beginning of Moira's worst nightmare.
See Moira's fragile sense of normality shattered beyond repair when two bodies are discovered buried on Butler's farm, land that belongs to Moira. One of the bodies is Celia's. In an instant, Moira becomes the prime suspect. As the human trafficking investigation escalates into a full-scale murder inquiry, police zero in on Moira and Cain, convinced that the answers lie closer to home than anyone suspected. A moment of calm before the storm. In a chilling preview clip, Moira and Cain share a rare, quiet moment together. Moira gently checks in on Cain's state of mind following his cancer diagnosis, worried that he's shutting himself off from the people who love him most. For a brief second, it feels like the couple might find strength in one another, that they might weather this storm together, just as they always have. Then the police arrive. A convoy of officers descends on the farm, their presence impossible to ignore. The calm is shattered as Moira and Cain are taken in for questioning, the gravity of the situation sinking in with every passing second. Public humiliation and private terror. The arrest is anything but discreet. As Moira and Cain are escorted away, Victoria Barton happens to walk by, witnessing the scene unfold. The humiliation is immediate and crushing. Cain, already struggling under the weight of his diagnosis, is roughly shoved into the back of a police car. In a moment that underscores just how serious things have become, he urgently tells Kyle to look after Isaac while he and Moira are gone. The words hang heavy in the air. This is no routine questioning. This feels like the beginning of something far worse. Evidence that tells a different story. As the investigation gathers pace, the evidence against Moira begins to mount, and it is damning. Two bodies are found buried on Moira's property, and one of them is Celia's, an Emmerdale insider reveals. This makes Moira look guilty as sin and undermines her claims that she's being set up. Moira insists she is innocent. She swears she has been framed, but the facts don't appear to be on her side. D.S. Walsh delivers a devastating blow when she confirms that Moira's DNA has been found on the blanket Anya was wrapped in. For Moira, it feels like the walls are closing in. A nightmare without end. The discovery of Moira's DNA sends shockwaves through the village. Friends begin to question what they thought they knew. Doubt creeps in, even among those who want desperately to believe in her innocence. Moira herself is left reeling. She knows she has been manipulated, but proving it feels impossible. Every attempt to explain her side of the story only seems to deepen suspicion. With the evidence stacking up, the unthinkable becomes increasingly real. Moira Dingle could be facing a very long prison sentence. Cain's helpless rage. For Cain, watching Moira being dragged into this nightmare is unbearable. Already weakened by fear over his health, he is now powerless to protect the woman he loves. His anger simmers dangerously close to the surface, directed at the police, at the system, and at himself. He knows Moira is innocent, but belief alone is not enough to save her. As Cain grapples with the possibility that Moira could be taken away from him for years, he is forced to confront a terrifying reality. He might have to face cancer without her by his side. What comes next? As Emmerdale heads into these explosive episodes, the future looks bleak for the Dingles. Secrets are threatening to spill, alliances are crumbling, and the truth remains buried alongside the bodies. Will Patty and Dylan's cover-up be exposed before it's too late? Will the real culprits be brought to justice? And can Moira clear her name before the damage becomes irreversible? One thing is certain, this storyline is far from over. With Cain fighting for his life and Moira fighting for her freedom, Emmerdale is delivering a harrowing reminder that even the strongest families can be torn apart, and sometimes survival comes at a devastating cost. As the drama unfolds, viewers should brace themselves, because for Moira and Cain Dingle, the worst may still be yet to come.